All right. Smiling.
Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Awesome. All right. Here we go. I'm coming over,
All
guys.
right, come on.
All right. Hello there.
Hello,
Welcome,
good to see
welcome.
you.
Same to you. I'm
Yeah.
excited about today's project.
Me too.
Yeah.
A lot of possibilities.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, my name is Cecily. This is your instructor for today, Miss Candace.
Hello.
And we are here from Sew Creative Lounge. We're the culture keepers of sewing and quilting with a mission of teaching the world to sew and quilt one stitch at a time. And today, we are going to be working on the Potholder Parade, which will be pretty awesome. You want to show them a sample? Oh, I love, 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 love the color choices. I was like drooling over them. I was like, it actually inspired me. I was like, I'm not making a pot holder. But then when she brought it out, I said, I'm making a pot holder.
We're making pot holders.
I'm making a
We're going to
pot
make a
holder.
parade of pot holders.
Exactly, exactly. Because it's so pretty, and I think it'd be nice, in the kitchen to have something different than just because my papa color in the kitchen is red.
Oh.
What's your papa color in the kitchen? Your kitchen?
I like a lot of purple.
A lot of purple.
Yeah, purple,
Hence,
blues.
purple
Purple's
here.
blues.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. So, but I also feel like this is perfect for getting ready for the holidays because
yes,
we're in October
it
basically.
is.
We basically have October, November, and a little bit of December. So two
Yeah,
and some change months.
right.
So I think it's a perfect time to just
Hmm.
get started on
Well, you're gonna
some.
need some of these for Thanksgiving.
That is very
So we're like a
true.
month
Ooh,
and a
ooh.
half.
I'm going home,
Go
so
home, make
I'm
some
not.
pot holders.
No, no, no. I mean, my
Oh, you're going
Chicago
to
home.
Chicago. Okay.
I'll need a pot
Well, you
holder.
need to take a gift,
Okay, I can do
a
that.
pot holder
I
gift.
can do that. I can do that. So yeah, so if you all want to get this pattern, you can go to our website. I will drop it in the chat, but you can get the Potholder Parade pattern from our website. And of course, Candace is going to talk about the materials, the Insel Bright. We also hold on our website. And yeah, so and if you are, today's Tuesday, Friday is the official kickoff of the holiday season for us. And we're going to be launching both our holiday gift challenge and we have some boxes that we're going to be doing for the holidays too. So some special goodies we've been excited about as
Ooh,
well.
nice.
So make sure you all stay back tuned for Friday at 5 o'clock. But with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Candace
All
and
right.
we're
We'll
going to
get
get started.
started.
All
Yeah.
right. I'll see
Thank
you at the
you.
end.
All right. I'll see you in about an hour.
All right.
All right, you all. Thank you all for joining. And like Cecily said, we're going over the pothole parade pattern. There are 4 different types of pot holders that you can use. The sample we're making today is the stripy pot holder. Okay, where we're going to use we can use what do you call those, or jelly roll strips, or if you have fabric, you cut into 2.5-inch strips. Okay, so let's go over all the things that we need to do our project today. Okay, all right, first thing, of course, we need is going to be the pattern. All right, the pattern has 4 different shapes. On the cover here, it has the round shape. Let me bring that closer to you so you can see it. And go down. Okay. Then we have this rectangular shape with rounded edges. And I'm going to show you how to do the rounded edges, also how to do the binding and a little bit of the quilting. Okay. All right. With the stripy back, you can do the solid here. On the inside of the pocket is a solid. All right. Okay. They also have a shape that is a Christmas tree. Oops. Pull that out. They have a Christmas tree shape in the pattern. They also have like a little envelope shape. Okay, you might be able to see that a little better on the back of the pattern there at the top corner. All right. And then it also has an oval shape, or a round shape. And if you did the project with Keisha over I think it was 2 weekends ago, it's very similar to that. but it has like a little curved piece. Okay, and all of these are made in the same manner as we're going to make this stripy one, except it doesn't have the stripes. Okay, all right, so let's go over the fabric and everything that we need. Okay, first thing that we're going to need 4 coordinating strips of fabric, 2.5 inches wide, 42 inches long. Okay, next thing we're going to need are 2 coordinating 10-inch squares. Here I have the purple and then the African print and a solid purple. Okay, next thing we're going to need some Insul Bright. And what the Insul Bright does is a batting, but it allows you to grab onto a hot skillet, a hot pan, and the heat doesn't come through the fabric or through the batting and burn your hand. This will control, it's like a thermal batting. Okay, and we'll go over that a little bit more. If you look at it, it's like kind of a needle punch, so it's very easy to sew. It doesn't cause any problems with your machine. It's a really nice product. Okay, and then also we just need some scraps of batting. So this has double layers of batting. You have the Insul Bright, and then you also have your basic batting. Okay. Other things that we're going to need: double fold bias tape. You can either do purchase bias tape, or we can make our own bias tape. Okay, using yardage, and I'm going to show you how to do that. On the example here, I use the same fabric as the main fabric, this purple and coral color, as the binding, as the bias tape. We use that for the binding across all the raw edges and also for our little loop that holds your pot holder. Okay. All right. First things first, we're going to sew all of our strips together. Move this out of the way. Just like this. All of our 2.5-inch strips, arrange them in a way that's pleasing to you. Okay. And after we have them sewn, we press the seams in one direction or whichever direction that the seam would like to go. Okay. Sometimes one fabric may be firmer or looser than the other and may want to roll the other way. Just press it the way that it naturally wants to go. And that way it lays nice and flat. After you press it on the back side, come to the front side and just come through and make sure all of these seams are flat. You don't want anything to overlap the edge. Okay. After we have that done, we now want to cut 2 sections. One section is for our front pocket. The other section is for our back section. Okay. All right. The first cut is going to be 10 inches. So I'm going to measure 10 inches. Use my rotary cutter and my ruler. I have it right here at 30. So I'm going to cut it at 20. All right. That's my first cut. Second cut. I need an even number. I need to cut it at 7. And that's going to be the pocket for my hand. Okay. All right. So 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just had to make sure my math was right. Okay. Now I'm going to cut that. All right. Now in the directions, it's really nice, especially if you're planning to do this as a gift. They have options where you can take this extra section you're going to have left over, because if we were just doing one and we had this strip, you'd have all of this that I just cut left over. You can add that to the bottom of a dish towel, so you have a coordinating pot holder and dish towel set, and it just takes a minute to sew that on. It'd be just a little strip of this sewn onto a white or a gray or whatever color dish towel that you have, and and then it can coordinate with your pot holder. And it's just a little something extra, but it's the little things sometimes that that work really nicely. Okay, so next thing we want to cut, let's just layer out our batting and our insole bright. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this insole bright. Insole bright is a needle pushed insulated lining, they're calling it, but it's kind of a batting because it is cotton. Let's see what the package looks like. This is the insole bright. It reflects hot and cold. So it also will reflect cold things. So like if you have like something that's really icy, it will reflect that too. So if you grab it, it's not super cold. It'll insulate it a little bit. So it might work nicely also in the in that little carrier we made, the water bottle carrier. Okay, and you can see here, it's just has a little metal lining in between these two white layers, and that has the insulating property. Okay. All right. So I just cut like an 8-inch section off of the insole bright. Okay. And I'm going to lay my pieces out on here. There's no real direction or anything to it. And I'm just going to do a rough cut to where it's a little bigger. All right. And if I wanted to, I could also lay my batting out up under there as well. Just cut all of it at the same time. Okay. So I have my top fabric, I have my insole bright, and I have my batting. Okay. I'm just going to use my ruler and go out a little bit of ways because we're going to quilt this. Okay. The sides I'm okay with it being bigger, and we'll trim it after we quilt. Okay. Okay. After we do this, I'll put this to the side just for a second. We want to take our 2 squares. Now this is where you can start to decide. Oh, let me press that. That looks a little wrinkled. Where you want to decide, do I want my pocket sitting on just the solid purple and then have this as the back? Or do I want my pocket to sit on the print, which is the way I have it here, where it sits on the print? Okay, so I think I'm going to switch it up a little bit on this one, and I'm going to let this sit on the pocket. Okay. So that means this goes with the back piece. And these are 10-inch squares. So I'm not going to cut these down at all. I'm just going to layer these together. So I have my strip pieced fabric, my insole bright, my batting, and then my backing fabric. Okay, this is the wrong side of my backing fabric. This is the wrong side of my strip piece. Okay, then I'm just going to take some spray glue, spray baste it, glue it all down. If you don't have that, just go ahead and use some straight pins to hold it in place. I mean, not straight pins, safety pins to hold it in place. I believe I have in here. Okay. Ooh, these are some big ones. Okay. Well, it's such a small piece. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I need spray glue in here. But if I had my basting glue, I would just spray baste. I would just, smooth it out and then go ahead and baste it. Okay. If I don't have basting glue, then I'll just go ahead and use my safety pins and pin in certain places, certain areas. Okay. And again, here on the front pocket, I have the wrong side of the back, the batting, the insole bright, and then the front pocket. All right, so let's go to the sewing machine and we will go ahead and quilt this real quick. And all we're going to do, I'm just going to stitch in the ditch, you know, stitch in the ditch here, and then I'm going to go through the middle of each row. If you look at the potholder here, that's exactly how it is. And I like doing that because see how the lines line up? Even when I put these two pieces together, because I quilted both of them exactly the same way, just straight line quilting. There's nothing wrong if you wanted to go through and just do the middle and then do a diamond, or if you just wanted to do a little 1/4 inch on one and then do the bigger quilting on the other. It's totally up to you how you want to quilt this, or even if you want to do a meander type of design, that's fine too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and quilt this. Then we're going to come back, trim it out, and then I'll show you how to make your bias tape. Okay, let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, normally when I do straight line quilting, I like to use a walking foot, and that way it keeps all these layers, because we don't just have 3 layers this time, we have 4 layers this time. So that way it would keep it all straight, but it'll work with a straight stitch foot too. Now, because this is a quilting stitch, we want to make our stitch length a little longer, so that you can see defined stitches. You don't want tight construction stitches. We want nice long stitches. And I'm just following the middle of the groove of my foot to the seam line. Okay, and I'm not going to take the thread out. I'm just going to sew over the next line. Do the same thing. Sew up this one. Because this is a smaller project, we don't have to be too concerned with drag lines as far as sewing up one way and down the other. It's a really short project. And this way. And then, now if I had a walking foot, I would have my extension on my walking foot so that I could match the metal line, the metal bar to this line, and I could sew directly down the center of each one. If you don't have the quilting bar for your machine, you can also put a 1-inch wide tape up against the seam and then stitch right on the edge there, and that will give you the same effect. Or you could just measure 1 inch out and make a chalk line to go through the middle, Let's see what I have here. All right, well, what I'm going to do, just for time's sake, we're just going to stitch in the ditch on this one, okay? Because I also have to do this piece too. Okay, again, we're going to stitch through the ditch, and this one I have the solid purple on the back. And I'm stitching through 4 layers. The thread's trying to run away. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. What's going on? All right, let's try it again. And if you feel like you need to do some type of basting on the side, on the two sides, you can do that as well. I don't think that it needs it because we're going to then put on the binding and everything, and we have all these thick layers. I think we're okay. But if you wanted to, you could baste this on each side just to hold it all together if that's what you feel that you need to do, okay? So always do what's comfortable for you, okay? All right. All right, now we're going to go back to the cutting table. We're going to trim this up, and then we're going to talk about doing the bites. All right, let's trim this up really nicely. Take my ruler, my rotary cutter. Get all this excess off. Put enough pressure in the middle. There we go. And it's done. I like how all these layers really show even just basic straight stitch quilting, straight line quilting, because of the Info Bright and the batting. Really nice puffy look. But it's not restrictive in sewing it. Okay, so that's the pocket. Now the directions kind of tells you what size the size is down. I believe it comes out to about 10 inches. Yeah, it comes out to about 10 inches by 7.5 or 8, something like that. But just follow what size they have in the directions. Other thing is, it's more important that everything's square, everything's straight, so if sometimes with strip piecing you're going to have like right here you can see how it kind of bulged downward. I'm going to straighten that out, just by a little, just to make sure everything's even. Nice clean edge. And you are going to have to sometimes go over it a little bit with this Insel Bright. It's not hard to cut. It's just that kind of doesn't separate as easily as regular batting because of the thermal properties in the middle of the two layers. Okay, turn that out. Okay. Select the check. Yeah, I didn't press that, did I? That's where I got that little bird's nest when it was acting up. But this one I'm going to do this way, where this is sitting on the purple instead of it sitting on the print. Although I do prefer it sitting on the print, but you know, I gotta let that go because now my print is on the back of my pocket. Okay, so I've made a decision. I have to stick with it, to live with it. But it's interesting to see how just changing the background can make a difference, you know. All right. Okay. Now, let's talk about doing your bias, your bias strips. Now, of course, you could purchase double fold bias tape in the package, something that coordinates with your project. Okay, this one's a little big. You know, the strip that we're going to make, we're going to cut a 2-inch strip. This is a 3-inch strip, then folded in half, so it's 7/8 of an inch big. The one we're going to end up making, it will end up being a 1/2 inch big. But this is what a double fold tape is. See, it's like no raw edges here. Okay, when you open it up, it looks like how a single fold tape looks, where you have the raw edge here and the raw edge there. The difference is after that's made, it's then folded in half, and that gives you the double fold bias tape. That makes it easy for us to sew this on, open out one layer. We'd open out one layer of this, sew it on, and then bring it over to the other side and then stitch it down. Okay, so that's where we're going with this. Okay, all right. So let's talk about making your own bias. And I think that gives it a nice finish because it's you took the time to do that extra step, you know, and it doesn't take that much time. You know, it's going to come out great. And you have your options. I mean, I could make this fabric the bias, which is the swirly fabric that's right here on the potholder. Or I could have done the solid, but that solid was just a fat quarter, so I couldn't really do that. Or I can again make it the same as the main fabric. Okay. All right. So in order to do that, we're going to take the fabric, and again, I've already cut this. And like here's my selvage down here. See my selvage edge. I would also have a selvage down there if it was still there, but I've already cut it. Okay. Let me pull this up so you can see the selvage. There's the selvage edge. Okay. I'm going to fold the selvage just so that I have it on a 45-degree angle. Anytime you bring your selvage edge, which is your lengthwise grain, that intersects your crosswise grain, you have bias. Okay, true bias is the perfect 45-degree angle. So you see here's my 45-degree angle on my mat. Okay, so that's true bias. Okay. All right, now we're going to cut 2-inch strips. First thing I'm going to do, because I have a fold here, I'm going to cut through this fold. If you feel that you need to press it and then cut it on the crease, open it up and cut it on the crease, you could do that. But generally, I just cut through the fold. Okay. That gives me this little triangular piece. Now we need 60 inches for this project. All right, different ones have different sizes. Like for instance, the round one, I think you only need 40 inches of bias. And just look at the instruction sheet. It'll tell you how many inches you need for the bias. Okay. All right, so I have a 2-inch wide ruler here. And I'm going to even though the triangle stops here, I'm going to use this edge out all the way out to the edge to edge, okay, to cut my 2 inches. I don't want to cut the ribbon. I can see that happening. So let me move this over this way. All right, and I'm just going to cut. Now, if you feel like I'm nervous about cutting it, you can mark them and then cut them. But I think that's like doing twice the work. So just use your 2-inch ruler. Or a 2-inch mark on your ruler. Okay, let's see now. I have 2 layers here. So let's see, what do I have? How many inches I have already? I might only need one more little strip. Okay, yeah, so that's like about 48 inches. Okay, so I would just need one more strip. Now, I already have some made, so I'm not going to go ahead and keep cutting this. But I would just keep cutting until I have 60 inches. Okay. All right. Now, what has to happen next? We have to piece these strips together. Okay. Now, usually with bias strips, and even like when you're using these bias strips to make cording, like for a pillow or something, if you keep your strips together and you match your opposite ends, let me trim this off, they usually match perfectly. Okay, I'm gonna trim off the selvage. I don't want to see it. All right, so right sides together. See how I'm able to match that? I took this end from this edge and was able to bring it here. And now I'm going to sew that with a 1/4-inch seam. Like right there. And that's going to open out to the bias strip. Okay. So we'll take a look at this one. It's already sewn. Oh, this one. Okay, well, we'll go to the machine to sew it. All right, and then we'll keep going. We'll piece the next one. Trim this. Now this is from a different cut. This is cuts that I made before. All right, have that pinned, and I can kind of measure to make sure I have my 60 inches. So that's 36. Yep, I have 69 inches. Okay. All right, so now let's go to the sewing machine and sew this, and then when we come back, we'll turn this into bias tape. Okay. Use the edge of my foot to the edge of my fabric. And the other thing that I want you to know is that you want your ends to stick out a 1/4 inch on each side. So where I have matched this, I have a 1/4 inch over the edge there and a 1/4 inch past the edge there. That way, after I stitch it and fold it outward, that edge will be even. If I don't do that, one edge will be lower than the other. Kind of chin piece these. Just keep it going. That's why pre-pinning it is cool, because then you can just kind of chain piece all of these edges. Put in between them. All right. And we're going to go back to the ironing board, and we're going to turn this into double fold bias tape using our bias tape maker. All right, let's get that out of the way. I'm I'm gonna cut my little joining string there. First things first, I gotta press my seam open. Don't want to press these seams to one side because we don't want any bulk inside of our bias tape. So press my seam open. Press any of these creases I got going on out. I think it's the way I folded the fabric. Okay. On my next seam, press that one open as well. Accidentally press a crease. Press that out. Okay. I don't want to go through and make sure I don't have any more creases. I folded the fabric kind of crazy when I packed it. All right. Now, so now we take the bias tape maker. Okay. This is a bias tape maker. It comes in a lot of different sizes. We're using a 1-inch bias tape maker. We made our strips 2 inches wide. Okay. And to get this started, I'm going to feed this through. You see there's a little slot there. Let me trim my silage. Make this a clean edge. So you want to make like a little pointy edge. I always find that to be handy. And then you can use your owl or just a straight pin to get it started. And you slide it through. See, with the straight pin through that slot. You see that little pin, that little tail comes out. And it starts to make your bias tape. See how it brings the edges in? Right there? Okay. So, let me see if I can get the camera to focus in a little more. Okay. All right, that's a little better so you can see. All right, so again, let's start it again. So I cut a little angle. I slid it through the opening. I took a straight pin, or you can use your owl, or even your purple thing. Something that has like something that you can put in the slot and slide it through. And just get it started. Okay, once you get it exactly where it needs to be, then you're golden. You know, and you just kind of slide it and press it. See? And that makes your bias tape. I remember my grandmother could do it with a really long straight pin in the ironing board and slide it through. This is way easier. Okay, and faster. All right. Now, while I have whatever I have on my ironing board, because I need double fold bias tape, I would then fold it in half like this. And that makes it double fold bias tape. So now that we have our 1/2 inch double fold bias tape. Okay. Now, actually, in making these, it necessarily doesn't have to be double fold. I find that you don't have to have a double fold. It can just be single fold because we're going to fold it over the edge anyway. Okay. All right. So I just want to show you how we're going to sew this on. Okay.
How did it zoom in so?
I zoomed it in so they could see them.
Okay, I was like,
yeah, I was going to zoom it.
Okay, all right, perfect.
To get the we call it to get the thing started.
I was like, wait, what happened to
I
the
turned
camera?
it. It was me. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You know what I look back and
was like, how did it zoom in? I was being a little stinker. It was me. Okay. All right, last little bit. I'm not gonna worry about that because it's all gonna work out. All right, so you see I'm just pulling it and pressing it. All right, and if you find that it's like clustering up a little bit, you can just use your pen again, run it through there. So I see we're getting close to time. All right, we're going to sew this on. First, we're going to sew it onto the top of the pocket. And then we're also going to sew our little loop on. And then we're going to sew it all the way around. And then it's done. Okay, so you can see if you use the purchased one, it saves some time because then you don't have to do this part. You know, you don't have to do the bias tape, making of the bias tape. You can just open the package and start sewing. Right? Okay. That's something caught. Other thing is you want to be careful not to pull bias tape too hard because it is on bias and it may overstretch. Okay. You don't want to stretch it out. You just want to gently pull. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to do that because we're going to get started on sewing. All right. From the strip, I'm going to cut a 4.5-inch strip. And the 4.5-inch strip, I do want to fold it in half because that's going to make our little loop. That's going to make our loop here. All right. So after I cut the 4.5-inch strip, fold it in half, I'll go to the machine and I'm going to stitch that. Then I'm going to sew double fold bias tape to the top of the pocket here. And then I'm going to sew it all the way around. So we're going to take everything over to the sewing machine. Let me zoom this back out before I go. Okay, I'm going to sew my loop. So I'm going to stitch on both sides of the loop. So it's like an edge stitch. Even though the other side is folded, we're still going to edge stitch. Those are my two folded edges I just sewed. Now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to sew my folded edge. Little edge stitch. Okay. I'm going to find the middle. Then I'm going to find the middle of my back piece. And I'm going to fold the loop in half. Now because I did that row of stitching, I know where my middle is. It's right in the middle of the row of stitching is. And I'm just going to baste this in place. You can do it on the front or the back. In the directions it says to do it on the front. Do it either way, really. I did this the sample, the example. I stitched it on the back because when you go around and sew that binding on, it's easier to pull up the loop when you put the binding on. But I'm gonna try it this time this way. Let's see how that goes. Okay, now I'm gonna take my pocket and I'm gonna take the binding I just made. I'm gonna open up the folded edge of the binding and I'm gonna stitch the matching raw edges. I'm gonna come past the edge a little bit and I'm gonna stitch close to, but not directly on that folded edge. Okay, so I'm really still, again, keeping the edge of my foot. If you have a 1/4 inch foot, you're using a 1/4 inch seam. And you'll see that it doesn't stitch through that fold, it stitches near the fold, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, I'm gonna cut the excess off. I don't need all of that. All right, so now to finish this edge, I bring this all the way over. Okay, so here was my edge. Now I'm going to bring the other folded edge over the edge of the pocket. Okay, so you see how that is. And then we're going to stitch in the ditch so that it grabs the back part of the binding. Okay, now if you want to, you can use clips, or if you want to pin, use straight pins. When you pin it, pin through the seam so that you grab the other side of the fold like that. I don't know if you can see it, and then pin it. And that way, when you stitch through the ditch, you know that you're grabbing. Oh. So let's take a look at the back of the finished project. You see how stitched here that it grabs the edge on the back side. Okay? All right. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it across this, and then we're also going to do it all the way around your pothole. Okay, so I'm more of a clipper than a pinner, but I will pin in this case just so we can, you have more control pinning through. See, you can see the pins on the wrong side. See, I pinned it on the front side. See, there are the heads of the pin. But on the back side, it's grabbing the binding. Okay, and now we're just going to stitch in the ditch on the front side of the pocket front. Just take your time, stay in the ditch. If you need to roll your binding down a little bit, that's fine. If you feel like maybe you rolled too much in some sections, roll it back. See? All right, so now we're going to trim these little edges. There. Okay, and now we're going to match this to this. Okay, now let's go back to the table so I can show you how to round your edges, and then we'll come back and put the rest of the binding on. Let me press this a little more. All right. Now to make your rounded edges, you can use anything that's kind of round. You can use a saucer, a cup, anything that you see that has kind of a rounded curve. Like I could use this little section here, round that off, you know. But generally, once you get one of the round curves, you just match it. Once you have it exactly the way you want it, you just match it to all the other curves, all the other corners, okay? So I'm going to do it on my smaller piece because I can control that a little better. Usually if you just go an inch up and an inch over, you can create a nice curve. It's not too difficult to do, just eyeing it. If you feel like you need something, you can always use something that's near you. Like I'm going to use this. And I think that's good enough. So I'm just going to round it around my corners. It gives me a nice start. And then I'm just going to go around it, make it a little smoother. Yeah, it's a nice little rounded corner. Okay, see how I did that? I just used the corner of this can. Then I just went through my scissors and kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Okay. Now what I'm going to do this on all of my corners. I'm going to use the same corner just by lining up my sides here. And I'm going to take the scissors and I'm going to make my rounded corner. Okay. On this one, I'm just going to fold it over, matching my edges. So fold it in half, make my rounded corner. This one, fold this in half, lengthwise, make my rounded corner. Then I'm going to fold it in half both ways, match my seams, match my sides, rounded corner. You can keep them square. You don't have to round it, but it looks nice rounded, in my opinion. Also, with it being curved, you don't have to worry about doing those miters when you do your bias tape finish. Okay. All right. So now align this up. If you feel like you need some pins through there, feel free to pin it together. I'm just going to put a couple of these giant straight safety pins in there. Boy, that's a biggie, isn't it? Kind of cool. All right. Just to hold these layers in place, you can use straight pins or clips around the edges. But see, it's so thick. I busted a couple of clips doing it. The spring just popped right out. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go around just like we did here, but we're going to go all the way around and finish the potholder with our bias tape. All right. And that's our last step. So let's go do that. These come together pretty quick. Go to sewing machine. All right, I'm going to start at the bottom here. And when I start my binding, I like to make my finished edge that I'm going to fold over. So I kind of fold this. See how this is like that? I'm open up that first fold. And this is why I said you don't necessarily have to have a double fold for this, because we don't need the crease to do the majority of it. Okay, then I'm going to fold my raw edge here down to this raw edge to where I make like a little triangle. See the little triangle there? And I'm going to start sewing there. That way when I come around and finish it, all I have to do is cover this and it covers all my raw edges. Okay, let me show you that again. So I opened up my vise. So I have my raw edges here. I'm going to bring this raw edge to this raw edge. Make this little triangle. Okay, I'm gonna sew this down so when I sew all the way around, I can tuck the finish in here and then fold it over and I have my finished edge. It'll make sense later, hopefully. All right, let's sew through our thickness here. Again, the Insel Bright makes it easy. It's not hard. It's just thicker. And when you get to the curves, you want to clip your curves. Scissors. Coming up on an hour. And I'll show you how to finish this off. Clipping my curves. Clip, clip, clip. So I can come around there and there won't be any puckers. Okay. Still keeping my edges together. If you need to lift your foot to make that rotation, that's okay. It's not a pivot, it's just a gradual turn. Okay. And we'll come up on more thickness here because of the pocket where we had the we already finished down the edge of the pocket. So we're going to come across that. I'm coming up to my curve. Before I get to my curve, I'm going to go ahead and clip the binding. I'm not clipping the pot holder, only clipping the binding. Come around, let those little clips spread out on the curve so you have a smooth turn. Keep going. Come out a bit more. So again, it's not a pivot, it's a turn. Fabric. Now, when you get to your loop, we're going to need our loop to go up. Not at the second point. We keep it down right now. When we come back around, stitch it, we pull it up. So keep your loop down on the first turn. Okay, let's keep going. Keep going. We're almost there. Again, it's not a pivot, it's a curve. All right, coming up on my other side of my pocket. I want to make sure my raw edges are flush. Back and side. I'm just trying to pick, safety pin. I love them, they're so big. All right. Get to my curve again, clip the binding. Spread, let it spread out, let those clips spread. Stop, lift a little. All right, let's take a look at the finishing. Oops, went too far. Okay, I'm coming to where I made that tuck. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to cut a little bit past where that tuck is. Trim this off. And I'm going to sew this together, attaching it. I'm about an inch past where I tucked it. Where the cut is. All right. And let me show you why I made that tuck. This is going to make sense now, hopefully. Okay. So now, you see, just like our seams, when we made our bias strips, when we sewed our bias strips together, if you look at the seam right here, it's on an angle. We're going to finish this off so it's also on an angle right here. So you see, because I had folded it over, stitched over the raw edge, so when I bring both of these over, it makes a finished edge. Okay. So it makes it nice and clean, and it's also on an angle, just like a seam. without sewing it. So it's more of a tuck. So you see there's the triangular fold. This is the raw edge. I came past the triangular fold. All right, and now I'm going to fold everything over to the wrong side and stitch all the way around in the ditch. Okay. All right. Now, one thing I do have to mention, because this is thick, when you get to the corners, you can trim out some of this, not the back and not the front, but you can trim out some of that middle in the seams here. Okay, because that's very, very thick, and it makes it very hard to place your batting over it. So you see I trimmed it, but I still have my front and I still have my back. Okay, but I trimmed out the middle a little bit on the corner. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. See all that batting? I'm gonna trim it out. I peeled back my front and my back, peeled it back, and then I'm going to trim it. See? That way when I sew that, I don't have all that extra thickness in there. So trim it out a little bit. It's not going to affect you touching a hot skillet or a hot cookie sheet, having that trimmed out. Okay. Going around doing all four sides. And then I'm going to make sure we're not cutting something we need. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to unpin this and safety pin it. And now this is where I like to use my clips, where I'll just start to tuck this all the way around. And fold it right over. See there, fold it over right there. See? And then I'll go around all the way around. Now when I get to here, I want to make sure that I pin my loop so it's up. All right, so I'm going to pin that across to make sure when I stitch in the ditch, this stays up. So you can see how if this was on the back side, it would stay up. On my other one, I did it on the back side, and it seems to stay up better. It just seems like it to me to do it that way. Okay, so this one I sewed to the front side. This one I sewed the loop to the back side, and that way when I flipped this up and stitched in the ditch, it grabbed it, so it's straight up and down. Okay, so this loop on this sample, I sewed the loop at the top of the back side of the pot holder. This one, because I'm following their directions, I wanted to see how it turns out. I sewed it to the front side of the top of the back. And then when you stitch in the ditch, you're going to stitch across, but you'll see that stitch right there. Whereas on this one, you don't see the stitch either way. And whether that matters to you or not, you know, it doesn't matter. You can also put your loop on the corner if you prefer to have the loop on the corner. You know how like pot holders have like a little loop on the corner of the pot holder. Okay, I'll pin the rest of the way because I don't have any more clips over here. It's okay. It's all good. You just want to make sure you keep your folds. Keep everything folded. I don't think my iron was as hot as I'd like it to keep the folds really, really folded, but that's okay. I have fingers. It'll make it work. And it's good to have the binding to be this thick because we have all that thickness with the batting and with the Insel Bright. And not to mention the 2 layers of fabric. The pocket is quilted as well, so we're working with a lot of layers when you come over the pocket. Okay. All right, last stitch all the way around, and we have another potholder made. Now, if you decide to do the circle or even the Christmas tree, they're made just like how this is. It's just that they have different shapes. Now, the envelope one is a little more involved because it has like a where you're making a stamp and you're adding like some cutesy binding to make it look like an envelope. It's a really cute project, but it's definitely more time consuming. But I can definitely see the holiday ones, the Christmas one. This would be a great Kwanzaa gift too, housewarming gift, or just for yourself to have in your own home. It's a cool chance to play with color too, color, texture, different textiles. It's not like some huge commitment. But at least you try some different combinations or something. All right, so let's get this sewn and then we're all done. So you see I started out clipping it, but I realized I only have 2 clips. But if I clipped it, I wouldn't have to pin it as much. So I have it pinned in the seam so that it's grabbing the binding on the back side. Okay. All right. So let's get this on. Now I'm going to sew near where my overlap is. You can hardly see that overlap. There it is right there. All right, and we're going to sew all the way around. Got to lift your foot a little bit. If you have the ability to lift your foot a little higher than usual, do that because of the thickness. And again, take your time. You're stitching in the ditch, meaning you're stitching in the seam, in the intersection of the seam. Now take your pins out as you go. I don't like the way that feels. So if you don't like the way it feels, take it out. Refold it. Because you can feel it. You can definitely feel like something feels thinner, like maybe that fold came loose. And now we just stick in it. Taking our time, in it. We are grabbing the underside. Got a lot of stuff that's going on there. All right, I'm just going slowly, slowly, slowly. Double checking before I get to my next corner. Taking the time, got to a pin, take that out. Take it slow. And you see it's coming unfolded there, so I'm going to lift that up, retuck everything. So I have a nice clean edge on my back side. I can use my clips. Now I have a couple of clips available. Getting okay. My foot. That's one thing you have to remember. It's so thick, you think that your foot is down sometimes, but it's not. So just be wary of that. Now I'm going to make sure my loop is up. Almost there. And one more side and we're done. Pretty thick through here. So take your time. You need to use your hump jumper to get past your corners or even your little loop up there. Use it. So you see how that stitch made the loop stay up? All right. Keep going. Like there, that feels flat to me. Still fresh. I'm rushing because I know we're out of time. the ditch. I'm going to come around. I want to make sure that I'm grabbing everything that has to deal with this fold in my finish. Take out the straight pin. And one more inch, we're done. There it is. Boom. Back stitch. There it is. Still can't seem to get that wrinkle out of that purple. I'm going to press it some more. All right, so there's where our finish is. You see our finish right there? All right. Finished all the way around on the back. So now I have 2 pot holders. So let's go over to back to the table. Okay. All right, so we have both of our pot holders here. Just cut our threads. So you can see just switching the fabric up on the background can give you different looks. Try out different fabrics and just have your own fun with it.
Okay, let's see.
Threads. Oh, all right. Thank you. Thank you for joining me.
All right, we got a couple questions.
Okay. Hit me.
Would a walking foot work better with all the layers?
Yes, definitely. Definitely use a walking foot for the quilting and for putting the binding on. I would definitely use a walking foot.
Okay. Let's see. So Angela said, what's the name of the pattern?
Potholder Parade. We only made one, so we made, one of them, but there's 4 different patterns on here. There's a Christmas tree, there's a round oval, and there's also an envelope style.
All right. Gloria said, I need that tool. You know what she was talking about?
Which, the binding.
The binding tool? Probably.
This one?
Look,
everyone, oh, where is it?
Up front. Yeah. This one. This one.
Oh. Looking around like there's a camera in front of you. You mean the binding?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they come in sets, so you can buy them individually. But definitely the 1 inch is a popular size to have. 1 inch bias tape maker.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was quick. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh.
We're almost. You're like, oh, it's almost done.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's so close.
Yeah.
You see, it doesn't take long to make.
No. And that's one. It was an hour to do one.
Yeah,
so.
And that's with me explaining.
Right.
So, if you have the bias tape, it take you less time.
Yeah.
We made bias, so
yeah,
a little more time.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much
today.
You. And guys, if you all want to get this pattern, you go to our website at sewcreativelaunch.com. Get the Potholder Parade. And we also have the Insel Bright because you'll definitely need that. We do not want you to burn your hands after you make this project. So definitely make sure you use Insel Bright and not regular batting for this project. I think we're done.
Yeah. We're all done. Yeah, it was a quickie.
I know. And we'll see you back on Friday where we're going to be doing the official holiday lunch. This is like a, get your appetite wet launch because this is definitely something you could do for the holidays.
Yes.
But Friday will be the full launch of our holiday gift challenge, as well as the goodie boxes that we're going to put in.
I love the idea of a goodie box. It sounds so. I need one.
Yeah, and this box is not for your friends and family. This box is for yourself because friends and family that don't sew just don't really get
us. They don't get it.
They don't get it.
They're like, really?
Right. Like, why would she be excited about a pair of scissors? Be like, because these scissors are. Why is she so excited about an iron?
An iron, scissors, ruler.
Yes, they don't get it, and we get you.
Yeah,
I see you. I see you. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close the site. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye.